But go-go is like, if they do a cover song, it's a twist on it. It might just be 6 bars out of the hook, or it might be, it might be the basis of one song, and then you got the rapper up there rapping a whole nother song or freestyling his own verse or whatever. It's all about creativity. And that's where the live and that's where the energy comes from. You don't know what's going to happen in the go-go, so you got one band performing and somebody comes in like, and that's the thing about it. Nowadays, when rappers come to town, to DC, they come to the clubs to perform. But when I was growing up, like, rappers came to DC to perform with go-go bands. So, if you're a rapper, like, everybody, I'm talking everybody from Ice Cube to Biggie to Tupac, everybody. There's live CD recordings, there's live tape recordings. This is all out there, public record. You can ride past the older dude and he's listening to Junkyard Band, a tape from 1994, and it's Tupac rapping on it or whatever, or Ice Cube or whatever. So it's like, for that out of town artist, it's up to them to be able to rap on that beat or sing on that beat and find the groove, just as they would if they, DJ Quick was performing with a live band or something like that. It's a beautiful thing. It's something that we take to the next level, and we have something that we can cherish. And we don't, and that was another reason for me to write that book. I wanted people to look back and appreciate this and say, we can't lose this. Gentrification is really destroying this area. And our culture is always going to have left. Once all of the houses and the housing projects and everything is gone, we cannot let that be destroyed. So I thought it was up to me to say, let's create a discussion and keep the culture going, and inspire somebody else to write a book or do a documentary or something like that. Let's keep this going.
That is beautiful. Oh man, like, I want to buy like multiple copies of your book now. Like, I was already was like, you know what? From being from East Oakland, and like my grandfather's from Louisiana, my grandma's from Alabama. It's crazy to think, like, most of us don't know like a lot about past our grandparents. So like, I was fortunate enough to go back home to Oakland over Christmas and learn some things about my family. And I was like, okay, well, if I have these connections here, like, what was the culture like then? And like Louisiana, we already know what it's like. Bounce. Right. That's why I like, when you were talking about, playing live instruments and, keyboard, I'm thinking of like trumpets, and I'm thinking of all the different sounds that would meld into go-go. And it's crazy to think, that is a piece of history. Like, you never, like, you can gentrify an area, but you can never like get rid of the sound, like almost like the heartbeat of an area. So that's fantastic. And also, to kind of transition into, sports side, because there's, you kind of already talked about, athletes, but you went to an HBCU.
Yes, sir.
Go ahead and shout out your school.
The illustrious Morgan State University. The illustrious Morgan State University, as we're called. There are plenty of HBCUs, but there's only one illustrious Morgan State University.
Didn't Visante Shanko go there?
Yes, sir. And that segues into this conversation perfectly. Visante Shanko,
tight end.
Willie Lanier, yes, from Morgan State, Vikings legend. Willie Lanier, Chiefs legend. We got some legends. We have 4 NFL Hall of Famers. We have, I believe, 8 or 9 Black college football Hall of Famers. So we are one of those HBCUs that started the trend of players going to the NFL. We have that legacy. And, this year we have an opportunity to have our first player drafted in 15 years in guard Joshua Miles, who just came back from the Shrine game. He actually had a pretty decent performance. So, HBCUs mean so much to me. I grew up and I really didn't, I knew I wanted to go to college. My college choices as a kid were influenced by basketball. It's like, Allen Iverson went to Georgetown. Maybe I should go to Georgetown. But I was a great a really big Connecticut UConn fan. So I was like, I was determined to either go to UConn and play basketball or Miami and play football. I played both sports in high school, but it was like, that's not going to happen. So it was like once it was, I had to look at, other means of saying, hey, let me figure out where I actually do want to go to school, and I'm a first generation HBCU student and graduate. I have a few people in my family that went to college, but I'm the first in my immediate family to finish. But I'm going to be the first one to start the tradition of going to an HBCU. And the thing about the East Coast is that, especially from New York down, is that the culture is so rich in HBCU history. From New York to Georgia, over to Tennessee, to Arkansas, etc. There are a great amount of families where the father went to an HBCU. He probably went to the HBCU and met his wife there, your mom, and they, there's a great history of the parents both, the dad being in a fraternity, the mother being in a sorority, or just, like I said, just being HBCU grads. It's a beautiful thing, and it's something that's so relevant here. And one of the greatest shows in terms of representation of that was the short-lived Nickelodeon show My Brother and Me. When people go back and watch that show, it was really ahead of its time. It was a black family living in Charlotte, which is like one of the epicenters of blackness right now. And they both were HBCU graduates. They wore HBCU stuff. They represented their fraternities and sororities on every episode. It's a lifestyle here, So, when I went on college tour with my high school, we didn't go to Maryland, University of Maryland. We didn't go to Towson. We didn't go to University of Virginia. We went to the black schools, because it was like, hey, you guys can make the decision to go where you want, but we're gonna introduce you to, the schools of your people, of your culture. So I went to Hampton, I went to North Carolina A&T, and I said, you know what, Morgan is for me. I felt good. I felt, and it was a great experience for me because I was able to, like so many of my peers from this area, get rid of those stereotypes that we have about Baltimore when you're out there and really experience it. Baltimore's, for the drugs, problem that they have and everything, and the crime and everything, it's a very cultured city. It's a very historic city. I love Baltimore now. I lived out there for quite a few years. I really loved it, and in the proximity to DC, it was far enough from my parents, but it was, it was close enough for me to get home if need be. But I got to the point where I really loved being out there, and I had the best of both worlds. I had Baltimore and I had DC culture running through my veins, and Baltimore people are great, great people. It's a blue collar city. Kind of like forgotten. It's one of the last cities on the East Coast to not be gentrified yet. And it's like, what? People are like, we got to just overcome. We got to do it, and we got to get to it. There's nothing that we can do but to do it. So, with the HBCU culture, man, it's so great. It's so great. And the thing is that I went to a northern HBCU. So you got, Howard, you got Morgan, you got Lincoln, you got Hampton, etc. Those are what I would consider northern HBCUs, beautiful women, beautiful campuses and stuff. But the North, the school support and school spirit is like, people love their HBCUs, but it's more so, these northern places, Norfolk State, etc., Ocala, Quinn, all these schools, they have a better possibility of, until guys like Tariq Cohen, of being notorious for basketball. So, the football games are, people are more so worried about the tailgating and everything than actually the football game. But that's changing. But the southern HBCUs are so great because it's like you can go down to Grambling. Man, let me tell you,
my mom went to
Howard is known as the greatest homecoming in black culture. But if you go to Grambling, you go to North Carolina Central. I'm talking about my brother went to North Carolina Central. I went down there, and he played for the team. And we're talking about a black area where you drive through after 11 a.m. and everything in the city, in the town, is shut down because everybody's at the game. They got the ribs slow cooking, chitlins, etc. The whole town comes out. The whole city comes out. That spirit. And then the culture of HBCUs is like, just as much as it is the sports, it's the music, it's the band. The greatest irony in America is how people view bands at PWIs, predominantly white institutions, versus how we view bands at HBCUs. HBCUs, you're going to get a show. It doesn't matter if the team is losing 30-0. People are sitting in their seats at halftime because they know that band is going to put on an electrifying show. They're going to hit some of the greatest songs ever, Frankie Beverly and Maze, Stevie Wonder, etc. They're going to hit the new stuff, Kodak Black, etc. They're going to have the palms and the dancers doing backflips, jumping around, the drum majors out there gyrating on the grass. It's going to be an amazing show. They're going to be two schools battling right there at the 50-yard line, going at it. If you've ever seen Drumline, it's that times 10. I thought that movie was a great representation of HBCUs, but I didn't really know until I got to one. And, man, let me tell you, it's the greatest thing.
Just it's something sequel.
About – I'm sorry, go ahead.
Remember the sequel, Drumline 2, I think?
No, never watch it. Never will watch it.
I regretted watching it.
And
I only saw 20 minutes.
Let me tell you. No, I would never do it.
Don't do it.
Let me
do
tell
that
you
to your soul.
Barry, it's something about being at a school, and especially for people coming from the inner city, and I mean really coming from the inner city, going to an institute of higher education where the people around you are all thriving to do better, and the people that are teaching you and helping you are all people like you. And I don't mean just black. I mean Hispanic. I mean Cuban. I mean Asian. I mean Jamaican. I mean Bahamian. I mean whatever culture, Nigerian, whatever culture you can think of, whatever ethnicity, whatever race, you got the Muslim Association, the Muslim Student Association, you got everything. These are all, entities that you get at HBCUs. You got a professor, it was so amazing to me to say, hey, I want to be a sports journalist, and to have a guy like Milton Kent who covered the Bullets into their transition to the Wizards, who covered, the entire Cal Ripken era, to have a woman like E.R. Shipp, a Pulitzer Prize winner, a woman that said, hey, I want to send you to the Democratic Convention when you get there in Philly in 2016. When you get there, I want you to go to West Philly, and I'm going to give you Jesse Jackson's number. I want you to interview him. I'm going to tell him that you're coming. That was an experience that I got at an HBCU. I have Jesse Jackson's number in my phone. I have Dick Gregory's number in my phone. I've been to Dick Gregory's house in Baltimore and in D.C. before he died.
Rest in peace to the ancestor.
Rest in peace to a great comedian, a great civil rights leader, a great person of color. These are experiences that I got in the HBCU. It was life changing. There were so many moments that I had to sit back and just like, wow. I remember my sophomore year, I was at homecoming, and Morgan does homecoming up. I was at homecoming, and the alumni and the different fraternities, the big brothers and big sisters, they throw all over the campus. It's 27 million cookouts going on. And we have, this, lecture hall, and it's been turned into a party. And I was, getting my plate. I'm making my plate. I got a burger. I got ribs. I got corn in the cob. I got baked beans, etc. I'm making my plate. And, the DJ's spinning SWV's Anything remix with Wu-Tang from the Above the Rim soundtrack.
Oh, my God.
And it's people, it's people that are like 18, 28, 38, 48, 58, all black, partying, networking, etc., having fun. I'm just sitting there looking around like, man, this is what I watched on A Different World. This is what I watched on Drumline. This is everything that I wanted my high school to be. everything is right here, and I'm loving it. And I really appreciated my time in Morgan. And let me tell you, once I got